I'd like to welcome everyone to the first of 9 sessions about our young people. My name is Evadyne Smith. I'm an author of Mind is to Mental as Teeth are to Dental, and we all have a mind. I don't think anyone could disagree with that. And also Dr. Eric Biseca, naturopathic practitioner, and one who is very spiritual. He has a podcast, he has a YouTube. He's going to tell you all about everything about him. And then we're going to meet other individuals who will be integral parts in helping us to help young people shape their lives. This is all about what we can do to help our future, because the young people are our future. And again, this will be every Thursday, beginning today, July 18th, going through September 12th, which happens to be my favorite day of the year since I was about 12 years old. So we want people to like and share and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not on this live, like, share, subscribe, whatever YouTube channel you're watching this on, because I know that it's going to grow. We're going to come back to it, whether we have 3 people, 4 people, 10 people. Every time we relive our broadcast, we will relive it. We will take the pause and allow people to bring in their information, because it takes more than a village to raise a child. It takes an entire galaxy, since people are living on Mars now. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Eric B, and he is going to introduce his component to this process. Now, again, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and also share the invitation that you have for our next live events. You can call 347-649-7741. If you cannot be on the show live, but you have input, you can leave a recording. You can email teamfollowme@yahoo.com and put in the subject young people, and we will incorporate you, and you will get a link to show how you were incorporated in the process of shaping the lives of our young people. Okay, Dr. Eric B., are you ready?
I am. Thank you. I appreciate the intro, Evadyne. And, you know, this work, whether we're 2 people on the line or 3 or 4 or 5, and certainly hoping that it grows, it's of monumental importance right now. And we see the transformations that society is going through. We see the transformations that society needs to go through some more. And this to me is about our young people being prepared for transformation, and not only the transformation that's happening around them, but the transformation that has to happen within them. You know, us as adults, we're aware of a lot of those transformations that we go through at certain points in life that awaken us in certain ways, and you know, bring us back to our true self. And I think the sooner that the young people realize that's good to have, that's important to have, where they can develop their authentic self, for their social emotional health, for their well-being, then you know, the better. I think that the sooner that happens, and the more access that they have to trusted elders and people who have been through it, so to speak, you know, down the road, and people who are genuinely willing to lend a helping hand and offer real opportunities for them. You know, that's what I think what this is all about. And before I introduce my brother Janal, one thing that brings Janal and I together all the time, and we you know, have been through a lot in the last maybe 20 years or so in our work together, is we're really all about balance at the end of the day. All the work that I do and all the work that Janal does, it's about coming back to balance, because it seems that's the greatest teaching of the universe, you know, that we live in, based on what we've understood. Everything is about balance. And so we see a lot of imbalance, of course, on the planet and in our world today. And we know it'll eventually come back into balance, but as facilitators of that, it's important for us to play our role. So, I think it's important that where does that balance show up? It shows up on something like this, eventually where you have young people and elders, right? There's a balance. And you have balancing perspectives of maybe urban and suburban. We want to create a mix of perspectives and communities on here so that the opportunities are vast for everybody and that we can learn from each other. And so balance at the end of the day, acknowledging that while a lot of young people have access to more resources than ever, there's also a huge problem with mental health right now with our teenagers that is being acknowledged. So again, bringing it back into balance. It's a time where a lot of young people from many communities, let's say around the country, have access to so much information and maybe opportunities through that. But so many of those opportunities are empty promises, right? Or they're inaccessible because there's nothing tangible that's actually happening. And so the lack of human contact is there. And so I'm coming back to what we're saying here is that young people today, from what I've seen, and of course, I've worked in the schools for about 15 to 20 years now, and in a variety of settings, whether it be juvenile justice center or suburban, um, more wealthy communities or whatever it is, I see the same themes coming up in my work, and I'm not convinced that schools are doing the job of preparing young people for a world and a time of transformation. What does this all translate to? More personal time with themselves, being comfortable with themselves and being true and understanding of who they are, or inner standing, like we've been saying from Jamaica. More understanding of the natural world, spending more time in the natural world that exists around them, and more time working with their hands, as Brother Janal is doing right now, right? Not just clicking or flicking, but understanding the manual work in the working with the hands. And also, finally, and most important, more time cooperating with each other and learning how to cooperate with each other. And I can tell you, I could report from the schools that not enough of any of those things is going on. And so we want to provide a venue, a forum where we can at least start talking about it and preparing for the future. So I can introduce my brother who would, I'm sure, care to share something after this. Janal is a longtime friend of mine. He's somebody that I both look to as my equal. I also look up to him and I learn from him. He's a great community leader. He's somebody that has a tremendous amount of foresight. He's a great teacher of martial artists. He's a musician. And he probably most importantly, he's a father of three and a damn good father at that. So, he can offer a lot of things along the lines of those perspectives. So, Jay, I'll turn it over to you if you want to say anything. Thanks for jumping on the line today.
Peace, peace, peace. I appreciate y'all being here. I mean, I think it's important to start these conversations. The people who are conscious kind of understand what's going on and the need for these conversations to have. We don't always have them though, so it's important that y'all are actually having these conversations and even putting it out there, recording it. you know, um, it's important. It's important to discuss them and then talk about what we're going to do because you know, we're stuck in a system that does not want to correct things. If we're honest with ourselves, that's what's going on. So all these programs sound good, and you've got all these programs and this money going to here and there. But when it comes to it, if the problem gets fixed, the system starts to change, and people don't want the system to change. People are making money from the system, so we have a tough situation where we have to come outside of the system, in order to to really cause some help. Otherwise, we're just putting band-aids on, gun wounds, and things can't heal that way. So, for me, Eric knows. For me, I want healing. I want true healing. So, any of the stuff that I pass on, and I'm is a holistic view of things. And I don't think there's any other way of looking at it. Any other way of looking at it is just to pretend like you're doing something, which our culture has developed in, that feels good to people. I want to pretend like I'm losing weight. I want to pretend like I'm getting healthier. I want to pretend like I'm moving towards these goals, which is fine. But for me, and for my family and for the community that I'm involved with, I want, true change. And so how do we go about that? And I guess this is what we're talking about, because we have to create systems that oppose the one that we're all grew up in and are controlled by. And so we have a daunting task, but I also have hope, because I think that it's possible, and I think even this conversation is, makes it more possible. And the more people talk about it and the more people see the truth, that's, that's what we need, because it makes sense. It makes sense to spend more time in nature. It makes sense to eat better. It makes sense to move. It makes sense to have practices and understand those practices get you towards your goals, it makes sense when you really look at it, but we're distracted by a lot of things. And that's what the system has been good at doing, distracting us from doing the things that we know that we're supposed to do. That's all I got. I mean, I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to, if I can share some things, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it's important that we come together and that we build, wherever you're at, build, and then come together with people that are doing the same thing somewhere else. And until it gets big enough that, then we have to have other conversations of how we put it together. But I think it's important just to have these conversations. So I appreciate, just even the invite to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric, Dr.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes. Yes. You want to move forward with us? Would anyone else like to speak or introduce themselves? And it's all right if you don't. All right. I appreciate that, Brother Janal. And, Jay and I, and we call each other Jay and Eric, of course, we were before we have any titles, of course, but and titles don't really mean anything. And like Jay was saying, it's really the work at the end of the day, and it's the real work. It's the real work. It's not the glitter and glam and thrill of it all. It's the true action that I think this generation is longing for. They're looking for people who are going to be real with them, and they're looking for something that they can see is going to be permanent and something that's going to inspire them. At the end of the day, let's face it. Whether they're consciously looking for mentors or anything like that, well, who's to say? But they're looking for something real that's going to inspire them, change them, and bring them to that place where they feel good about who they are in a genuine sense. So that's what Jay and I have been doing that work for a long time, and in different capacities. So we utilize Capoeira Angola as a martial art form. It's an Afro-Brazilian martial art, of course, with roots in Africa. And it is excellent for it. It's been a catalyst of both of our transformations and growth throughout our lives, throughout our adult life. And there are so many holistic aspects and universal aspects of Capoeira Angola. It's almost like the secret that nobody knows about as far as art forms and martial art forms and dance forms. So anyway, that's a form where we facilitate change, and Janal could talk about even his nephew and others, people who are going to Brazil and people, who get a chance to meet masters and mestres. And our capoeira community is very strong, very prominent, and very sort of in touch and connected to one another up along the East Coast. And they represent various, aspects of life and schools and practices of capoeira, but we all come together at the end of the day, with the need for community and capoeira, Angola, and all the arts that are, all of the aspects of capoeira that bring us together. So that's an important part of our work, probably the most prominent. And in recent years, we've been getting into some natural building and permaculture and sustainable living practices, that are the reality of our coming, I would say, food crisis and our economic debacle, that is the prices of food and water and air. Let's start with those. And so we've been studying things like natural building and permaculture and permaculture design, and creating more sustainable systems around the house, in terms of strengthening individuals, strengthening communities, and having access to what we need to be well, to be healthy, and to create a relationship with the earth and a relationship with each other that we always had, for generations on this planet until very recently. So those are the things that we're for the most part utilizing. And a couple of very fortunate and blessed young people have been exposed to these arts and these things that we've been doing, and we've seen the transformation in them. Whether it's people that are close to us and our families, or the transformation that capoeira and Angola brings, and the transformation that permaculture and sustainable living and and I don't use the word communal, I would say more eco-oriented living are very real. They're very real changes, and so we could talk more about that when as the time progresses. But they're going to be, I think, important parts of the conversations that we have.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you're saying, and what I think about is that with the martial arts, just going backwards from the starting from where you ended, the martial arts teaches a mind discipline for the body. I don't study martial arts, I just study human life. And that's the one thing that I've noticed, that when you get that discipline, when you get that self-control of yourself, it moves you in a greater light in life. And so anyone and everyone should find something to practice, martial art or even yoga, some type of body influence, internal for the external, for the internal to reply to. The mind is so powerful. And when you mention mental health, well, my book, Mind is to Mental as Teeth are to Dental, and we all have a mind. It is your state of mind that can get you transferred to the mental health department, because you may have some things to work on. And when we're speaking about young people, I cry for them because people aren't talking to them enough. They're not hearing what these young people are going through. And some young people don't know how to express it because no one has showed them how to express themselves. They've taken the arts out of school, which is it is just the most fantastic way of expression. You look at someone's artwork and you can tell what's going on literally in their mind when they sing, and if they choose to sing, the type of songs they'll choose to sing will tell you what's going on in their life. I listened to a retired principal speak one day, and he said when a child was brought to him because they weren't performing as they should in class, the first thing he asked them was, what's going on at home? Did you eat breakfast? Is your mom okay? He asked those questions because when he was saying it, it reminded me of me a bit, because I'm a why person. You can show me something, but if it doesn't resonate and sit in a place in my life, then I have to ask why. I need to know more information, not because I'm nosy, just because my spirit says there's more to know. So I like to know the why a person is behaving the way they're behaving. Do they even know? And not just young people, but we're speaking to young people and about young people. But believe it or not, young people, we were once young. So what we're sharing with you is from our experience of not knowing, then learning, then applying. That's how we're speaking to the young people, not, oh, it's your turn, you have to figure it out. Whenever I hear someone say, oh, I had to learn the hard way, let them learn. No, no. If you learned and you can now share with the next person the smoothest, easiest way to do something and get it accomplished without them stepping on the same pebbles that you stepped on, I think that's fantastic. I don't think it's taking from them experience, as some people would say. They're going to have their experiences, but hey, but um, we've learned along the way because others have shown us. Others have
Right.
shown us. And so, and they've shown us because they've learned. And it's not just your teacher in school, even though elementary school, we had fantastic teachers from all races. There was no racial issue when we were coming up. And I am 62. But I will tell you that when I was 12, I had decided I didn't want children because I didn't like the way the school system was then going. I could see that there somehow was a disconnect in what I needed to learn or what we needed to learn and what you were teaching us. You weren't teaching us for success. I feel that when it comes to the traditional educational system, that by the time you get to the 10th grade, you should be learning your field. You should be learning your career. We used to have home economics in school. The young people don't understand that anymore. They have the ethnic stores in their neighborhoods, probably 2 or 3 in a 4-block radius, selling food that's not Asian, but they're buying it because they don't know how to cook. We learned that in junior high school. We learned how to cook. We learned woodworking. We learned basic electricity. We learned basic plumbing and home economics. Home economics was teaching you about life. We learned sewing, typing. We learned so many basics that young people today are not getting unless they're in specialized programming. They're not getting it. And I feel that's one of the things we could work on bringing into the school system. Nope, into the community. With the school system used, thank you, with the school system used to, used to pull forward. We have community organizations, we have churches that have space. We have the knowledge where we can bring that space in. And I'm very careful about I'm a tax preparer as well. And when I have clients come to me and tell me they want to start nonprofits, I ask them, my favorite, why? Why, and usually they want to start a nonprofit because they feel that it is the road to grant money. It is the road to grant money, but starting a nonprofit is like giving birth to a baby. That is the commitment. You and your board are giving birth. But it's also something that becomes, what do they call, the crab in a barrel, that if you have all of these nonprofits that are fighting for this same grant funding, then somebody's losing. And what I suggest to them is develop your program. That's something you're going to have to do anyway if you have a nonprofit. Develop your program, and then you can find 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nonprofits that have the community you want to service. And you can all find that money to bring it into that community, to that organization to deliver your program. So now your program becomes a model program that goes past just one community where your organization will be birthed. And now it can go nationwide, or depending on what you're providing, maybe even globally. It's the same money, less commitment from you in terms of giving birth. You're almost just adopting foster organizations. But these organizations, because what will happen is if you want to service young people between the ages of 7 and 12, and the organization around the corner wants to service those young people, well, we have a problem now, because those young people are, one, going to have to choose, and two, may not be able to participate because the organizations are fighting against the resources. But today, I'm excited about bringing in this conversation and thankful for anyone who has joined us. And as Dr. Eric has asked, if there's anyone who's on who would like to share some information, some insight, if you're young, and you would like to tell us what it is that you feel like you want to know from us as adults. You don't have to give your name if you don't want to. And as we mentioned that, let me say, we have 9 segments. Today is the first of 9. We're going to do gender specific segments as well, where it will be the young men or males who will be speaking to males and females who will be speaking to females. It is my idea that in those conversations, they will be tailored for the gender, but the opposite gender will hear what has been said. So when I say you don't have to mention your name, because if we're going to work cohesively, we need to know what each one of us is going through, what each one of us needs, how we see the world. Because if you don't know how I see the world, we couldn't possibly date. If you don't know how I see the world, I cannot teach your child. I cannot mentor your child. So I think it's important that each group, and when I say male and female, and even if you're in between, whatever your decision and choices are, as humans, we need to know what's going on in each other's lives. That is so important. And again, not in an institutional setting, but in a global setting. I love the internet because here we are. We didn't need anyone to approve of what we're doing today. So moving forward with the next 8 segments, please let us know what it is you need from us. Let us know what resources you want to bring to this conversation. And so I'll just open the floor for a half a second, but Dr. Eric B., you have something to say before I open?
No, go ahead. Let's open it up and see if anybody wants to chime in. Anybody who hasn't spoken, absolutely.
Anyone? But if you have anything to add, please, you may speak. If you're muted, you can press *6 and you can speak.
And if you want to speak at any time soon, you know, put the hand up, and usually we can see the hand or whatever, you know, whatever. Nothing too formal here, but just we can manage that, right, with the hand, raise the hand thing, or just
I
jump
believe I
in.
should be able to see it. Yeah, I should be able
Yeah.
to see it.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So at any point in time, you're saying if they don't want to speak now, at any point in time, oh, here we have
There we go.
Francesca.
See,
Hello.
she knows the hand.
Yeah, I've been in plenty of Zooms. How you doing, Evadyne? I thank you for the invite. Eric, my name is Francesca, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name. Jonelle is his name. Oh, thank you, thank you,
Jonelle.
Janelle. Thank you so much. So, Evadyne, thank you for the invite. On
Thank you for
tonight.
coming.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Something that you said, that I was listening to, and that you're on point is because I experienced that throughout my life, and where I want to try to do, like, nonprofit, or, well, let me start with a nonprofit. I'm new to that. And I think we had that discussion, that I think I asked someone how was the process, and the response I got from the person was for me, like, to figure it out. They had a hard time. But yeah, remember I told you I had that discussion, and I said, okay, all right, I'll figure it out. But if you pulled it off, I didn't see why not share the information. So I took what they said to me, and I said, all right, I'll figure it out. And I thank God that I run my own podcast and my own organization. And I didn't have the mindset of that person. When someone asked me, I helped them out, you know. And I had told Evadyne, throughout the years, I started going to the top massively because I'm a community activist. I love you helping in the community. My strength is the seniors and the youth. I love helping the youth and educating them. We need to bring home economics back. I learned how to bake muffins and cookies because of that class. And it was awesome. And sewing also. So it has to come back, as much needed. It's educational for growth and when you live on your own. But going back to when that person said that to me, as I started growing, I would say, my little empire, And I have people ask me, how did you do this? And I said, come here, I'll help you out. And I told them the process, because why have them go through it if I had the tools where I can help them and we can help each other? That's how I saw it. The individual that said that to me, he was actually watching as I was growing, and he congratulated me and happened to ask me, can I help him? And I was like, whoa, this was the same person 5 years ago that told me figure it out, and saw that I was growing and was like, can you help me out? And believe it or not, I didn't respond right away, but I'm not a selfish person. I did happen to ask them, what is your issue? How can I help you? So that was kind of a little like slap in the face, because 5 years ago you told me figure it out. 5 years later, you're asking me for help. So I always say what comes around goes around. I didn't give him that attitude. I actually helped him out despite what he did to me. But I thank him, because at the end of the day, I got the tools to do what I had to do. And I also passed the tools on to other people, because I don't need them to go through it, because we can all help each other and grow together. And that's what it's all about. And an aspect of the youth, we have a lot of problems here in Patterson, where with the school system is really, really bad. We don't have like recreation or after school program, which is much needed, and they ask for it. And we try to look for resources. We look for, there's fundings for other stuff. I got to put it out there, but there's no funding when it comes to the youth. And it's very sad when the youth want to play basketball, when they want to have, chess, checkers, and we can't supply that to them. But instead, they're out in the streets doing what they're not supposed to be doing, and then you wonder why. So recreation and all that stuff that you said, Evadyne, is very much needed. The youth ask for it because it's a growing tool for them in the future. You got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to sew a pair of pants or a shirt if it rips, so it's very important. And I honestly have to say here, we are lacking our youth educational wise, recreation, and after school programs. We wouldn't have the problems we have now when they're standing in the street corner looking for something, that they shouldn't be looking for. When we have after school programs, they're getting educated, they're getting help with their homework. And also there's recess and resources that they have, like computers and stuff, and we no longer have that. So it's very sad. And it frustrates me when I want to implicate that, and I get there's no funding, but you're building a high rise, you're building buildings, but we don't have for recreation. And I always say make it make sense, something for our youth. They're the next generation. So that's my input. I'm glad you're doing this. I will be sharing this so other youth can come in and get educated, because I think this is just awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Love you. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful.
Love you
And
more.
so I just want to share how life happens. So life happens in a way. So this is to young people, and then to your parents, and to and when I say young people, again, I'm 62. So if you're under that, I'm going to call you a young folk, and that's okay with me. But what I'm thinking is that Dr. Eric B., Francesca, and we met through a network, through a podcast network. And you never know what's going to come through the door of the first door that you enter. Young people. I remember, let's say now you're entering, let's say let's speak to the high school graduates. You've graduated from high school last year or the year before. You're trying to find your ground in the work opportunity. I heard this young man tell me he didn't want to work at Amazon because all over the internet, he keeps seeing all this negativity from people who work. Remember that, quote unquote, who work at Amazon. So I said, well, what's negative for one is not negative for all, number one. Number two, they work at Amazon. They did not say they quit. And the more negativity they give you, the more you'll stay away. So little do you know, young person, if you're not there, they get more overtime. So it is a weird psychology that someone will keep you away from something so that they could benefit from it even more. But you walk through doors, you see opportunities, you may not fully understand them, but just walk through the door, be prepared, go like you want to succeed. When I started my career of work, I registered with 3 temp agencies. So a temporary agency is a business that gets contracts from companies so that when they need staffing, they go to the agency. The agency has individuals who have registered with them, who has qualified through testing, so clerical tests, making sure you know your numbers. And numbers is not just looking at a number, it's knowing numbers numerically and alphanumerically, just in case you're doing inventory or making other calculations. So I worked through 3 temporary agencies. One would keep me busy. Before that assignment was over, I would be getting a call from the other one, and it would just continue like that. And I think I did that for about 2 years. The benefit in that to young people, to college graduates, is that you're finding your niche and getting paid to do it. You're going on an assignment that may say it wants you for A, and then you learn B, C, D, E, and F. Each assignment is going to teach you more. And each thing you learn is building your character, is building your bank account, is building your sense of self. Because again, because you're doing a variety of things, you're learning what's good for you, what's right for you. And I say this too, having a job is important because it's going to bring you sound, secure, weekly or bi-weekly income, but also find your passion, find that thing you love to do, because that could be one, the job you do, but it could also be the business you start. It could be the business you start. And again, I'm speaking to high school graduates right now, and college graduates, or those of you who may be in trade school, which is a wonderful avenue to take as well. Once you start working, start building your own retirement. Start building your own retirement, because you may go from one job to another job to another job, maybe 5 years here, 3 years here, 12 years here, but you've already begun as a young person planning for your retirement. And plan like you're going to be here. I know there are some young people who feel like, oh, I'm never going to retire. You know, I'm not even going to be here when I'm 50. Yet you're going to be here when you're 70, because it happens so quickly. So put your mind in the place of maybe even living in the blue zone and living to over 100, healthy and happy. Start planning for success. They say when you don't plan to succeed, then you're planning to fail. And you don't want to do that. It's not why you've come so far. It's not why you've learned so much. So register with a couple of agencies. And again, while you're young, with no children possibly, you can work a full-time and a part-time. Why? Because your part-time could be your spending money and your full-time can be your investment money, putting that money away for your long-term goals. And then maybe 10 years from now, if you settle down or settle in with someone and you want to devote time to your mate and or your family, guess what? You can, because you've already laid a financial foundation for success for not only you, but also your family. I know it sounds a little different right now for some of you, but it's all about not just saving, because that's not going to earn you enough of a return, but you can definitely purchase CDs. I highly recommend that you purchase life insurance, whole life, because the whole life insurance earns cash value. So it's like you're investing in the market without making a decision on it, which is kind of cool. I'm going to
No. I'm going to chime in here. I think, Evadyne, you put yourself on mute. Yeah. So anyway, I think just to kind of balance out what
I'm
Evadyne
sorry
is
about.
speaking about, that's all right. I'll just jump in.
Thank you.
A lot of what I'm offering, and everything that you're saying is perfectly valid, and on having a plan and being able to prepare for the future is crucial in so many aspects. But what I've found is that a lot of young people today, they don't want to hear about a lot of these things because a lot of these words that we use, such as retirement, such as find your passion, such as work, this generation is completely, they're changing the meaning of those words. Those words are now constructs that are completely changing as this next generation is coming up. And so they just laugh when you say words like that sometimes, because I know I've said them. And because we're living in such a quick, impulsive and immediate gratification, immediate satisfaction type society, young people have learned to put those words in a certain category of fantasy and of passe thinking, if you will. We want them to get good jobs. We want them to find their passion, and we want them to be financially responsible and secure. But what are the institutions that we're relying on that are going to give them that? And that's where we say, well, we need to create our own institutions where these things can become sustainable, because we see that the institutions that are offered and institutions that are in place for young people are not serving. They're not serving them. They're not even serving adults. So how are they going to serve young people 10 years from now, 20 years from now? When we talk about things like retirement, when all these systems are constantly changing and a lot of times disappearing. So, we know that learning is important, but coming from a place where, coming from a place of radical transformation, this is my kind of foundation. I would say that unlearning is becoming even more important than learning these days. And that our young people have to be able to see that what the messages and the images and the cultural norms and the ways, the folk ways and the morals and everything that's been kind of plastered in front of them in this almost pseudo community, this pseudo society, is really just a facade at the end of the day. A lot of it is a facade. And what's behind that facade is unlearning about these constructs and figuring out what the real passion, what does it really mean to have a passion for something? We know that, you could probably get a job at Amazon, and all of us have had our path, working in all these different places growing up, but it's never going to fuel your passion, in sorts. You'll probably learn a few very important values along the lines of discipline and responsibility. But I think that young people are thirsty and they're willing to take a risk to learn something that will transform them and learn something that they could see a future in. And I think that a lot of them, they see Amazon and they see these delivery jobs, or maybe some of these potential AI platforms and things that are popping up now, and they're not quite certain. They're in a very uncertain place with it. And what we're offering from this end, and I definitely would love to see more young people come on the show at some point, and so we can talk with them. But what we're offering is really a transformative way and a path that we're not seeking. When I say we, I mean Janal and I think I speak for him. He can certainly chime in, but we're not seeking young people to do what we're doing. We're opening ourselves for young people who see us to come. And so I think what I'm really getting at here is that there is a way in this world, right now, even though it seems, I think for a lot of young people, they can't see their way. They're terrified because they cannot see the future. There's nothing tomorrow there for them. But what we're here to say and to offer is a way. And that way is very sustainable, it's very permanent, and it begins on the inside with the inner awareness of an individual and the training that goes along with that. And then once we see that that happens, all of the outer world starts to fall into place. But when when one's unaligned or imbalanced on the inside, emotionally, socially, whatever word we want to use, that's that they're, no matter what they want to do in terms of saving money or finding their passion, it's going to be a struggle. So what we seek to do is first work on the alignment of the individual with their authentic self. And then from there, they can, the universe will figure it out for them. You know, it took me 45 years to get to that place. But I can, I want to, Janelle and I are here to offer that sort of completeness, and not saying that we have it all figured out. I'm not saying that, we're grandmasters and that but we're part of a community, and we have a brotherhood in ourselves and a family and within ourselves that is trustworthy, that is loving, that is nurturing, that is aware, and we are open to helping people along the way, who want that transformation. And so,
So I just want to ask you, please, to share contact information so whoever's listening, and I believe this is for males, correct? This is for the male gender.
Well, I think that, as males, Jay and I would more easily focus on young men because we can relate. And I definitely believe in I don't know, but we see that young people respond better, especially young men, when they can, just stay with that dynamic. And then young women, or, have with the whole rites of passage history and all that, we find that that's more effective. Yeah. But we have resources, of course, for young women, and young women are doing the same thing in our community. So,
Thank you. So please give your contact information where anyone who's listening could be in contact with you. Give your email, you have a book. Please tell us about your book, and also your YouTube and your podcast.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you to Francesca first, and for coming on the line and sharing her story.
Thank you.
And Francesca, what is your organization? You mentioned that you did get something started. What exactly are you into?
Okay, well, as a domestic violence survivor, my vision was to open a organization, and it's called, I have it in English and Spanish, No Mas, No More Domestic Violence, where I'm going to be educating not only the women, men are also abused, and we also are seeing, a high rise on teenagers also. So that's my avenue. Is I don't stick strictly to women because it affects all. And also I'm linking my organization with drug addiction, alcoholism, because it all falls in the same category. So my organization is No More Domestic Violence. So I have that little logo with a silent face. So, and I created that during COVID.
Beautiful. Well, we'd love to, we'd love to be in touch, and we help each other. Yeah, absolutely. We help each other, and that's all right up our alley, so to
And I
speak.
just want to say, I'm sorry, I just want to say, Eric, Francesca's on the Grown Folk Talking Network on Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Francesca, just tell us about that, how people can tune into your show, and then we'll go back to you, Eric, as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Eric and Evadyne. Yes, I do a podcast. Thanks to Grown Folks Talking, I was given that opportunity, and my podcast is called No Longer Silent, which every Wednesday from 6 to 8. So everybody is welcome to come on. I started first with women, And I thank God more men started coming on my podcast. Hopefully I can get used to. So I'm kind of expanding, and it's kind of like growing. I have like a little bit of everything there. We dialogue on different topics. I was on last night and I talked about narcissists with psychopath, and I had a very good feedback last night. So, it's best to educate the red flags because we never
Oh,
know.
that's,
So
yeah,
I'm
that's
very
good.
grateful. So if you have a podcast, I'm more than welcome to listen in too, and also share. Evadyne knows that we have like a little
Sure.
me and her.
Yes, yes. Well, hey, there's a lot to be said for it, but I commend you, and you have my support. I'm very happy to meet you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
just domestic violence, so much of that is misdirected. It's just misdirected energy, and that's really what we're working with here. As a naturopath, I work through the energy realm, and that's kind of the paradigm that I come from, and whether we call it emotional energy or spiritual energy or mental energy, whatever it is, it's just energy that needs to be channeled and sometimes reformatted, you know? And so, yeah, the work that I've done, I mean, I don't, really want to get too far into it, but I guess I would say that it's been especially even the last couple of years, an eye-opening experience, seeing the commonality between a wealthy community that I worked in as a teacher and the Juvenile Justice Center in Philadelphia, which would be in many people's eyes the complete opposite, right? Different communities with different needs, but both of them having the common need of providing young people with real resources and access to people who care about them so that they can gain a sense of who they are. And whether it's the whether it's the suburban girl running around the parties every weekend in her BMW and maybe drinking too much, or whether it's somebody coming from a situation where they just want a little financial support to play basketball, in the community. Both of them are lacking this same resource of being able to develop their self-awareness so that they have the ability to call on themselves and to communicate with others in a way that will help them in the future, you know? And so that's what I think the power of this is that we don't need to focus on one dynamic, one demographic, one this, one that. This is really for everybody, because at the end of the day, we all need people to help us, to guide us, to lead us, to befriend us, and we all need the earth to support us in a natural and healthy way, you know. And so, that's what we're all about, and that's what inspires me, to be on here. So I'll just leave it at that. And yeah, my
I'm
contact information. Go ahead, Eva.
No, go ahead. Yeah. So before you give your contact information again, so Francesca and Dr. Eric B. and I again met through the Grown Folk Talking Network. I had never met Eric before, but I found that we were an hour and a half away from each other about a little over a month ago. He was in DC and I was in Maryland. And from listening to his show, I felt the power of his spirit and his direction and his mission. So I asked if he would come and meet with my grandson and some of his friends, and he was gracious enough to do so. We met first. We met first over a meal, and then we met with the young man and one of their moms. And I'm telling you, the benefit of that was greater than, I don't know if it was greater than I thought, is why I asked, but to actually see it, it was surreal. And the way that he conversed with them and encouraged them to converse back with him. See, it's one thing if you speak to someone, it's another thing if they hear what you're saying. And the way he delivered information and then engage them in the conversation to make sure that that information was received, I felt that was powerful. I'm ever so grateful. The mom, Wafia, she was so grateful as well. I'm not going to say I didn't know what to expect 100%, but in terms of the reception of his visit with the young men, because you don't know, we know our children in the way that we know them, but to see them interact in it with a stranger, and especially someone who was delivering information that will stay with them for the rest of their lives, I am more than sure. And he's opened up an invitation for them to come to the Richmond Project, I call it, right? The Richmond Project, which is what he's speaking about, where we find out who you are and where you are and develop you to your full potential, step by step by step. It doesn't take anything away from the fathers, the uncles, the grandfathers. They're welcome too, I believe, but it shows that, again, not just a village to raise a child, but there's a global impact when you have global influence in the world that we're living in today. And it's a cultural thing because it's a culture of enrichment, but it's not an ethnic thing. It's not a racial thing. It crosses all boundaries when you're talking about empowering humans to be their absolute best in a metaphysical, spiritual, and physical way. And so I thank you, but please give your information, your contact information. Thank you so much again, Eric.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And that was a happy day for me. That was a happy day for me because it reminded me of the work that I like to do. And there's not enough of it, but that was just a tremendous, just as beneficial for me as it was for them. So that's what this is really all about. All of us, KRS said something to the effect of when young people are learning from elders, they become greater among their own friends. And when elders are learning from young people, they become greater among their own friends. So that exchange, when that exchange happens, again, balance, that's when culture is created. That's culture. That's what we know as culture, true culture. It's not cooking or dancing or whatever. We need to realize the culture begins with that connection. And speaking of which, one last thing, Francesca, and you mentioned the Spanish speaking community or a reference to it. We of course, capoeira is in Portuguese. So one of the things that we emphasize and one of the mechanisms, through is teaching Portuguese to our students and to the people that come aboard with what we're doing. And so there's a really nice, multicultural element there where you learn a Latin language, very similar to Spanish, obviously, and you learn music, you learn movement, and there's a lot of depth with the capoeira Angola. So we value absolutely, everybody, even if you don't even speak English, probably even more so would want somebody, So that said, my contact information is, I'm always good for email. It's techseca, TECHSECA 23 @gmail.com. You can shoot me an email at any point. I'd love to, start a dialogue about something. You're not bothering me at all. And yeah, I want to do this work and I'm going to look forward to these next 8 weeks or so. I hope that everybody who's on the call today can stay with us throughout the next month or so, 2 months. And that's about it. I'll leave it for anybody else. And again, everybody, just a very warm thanks to all of you for being on the line today. This is, I think, the beginning of something really nice.
Thank
Ashe.
you very much, Ashe.
Mhm.
I like to thank also everyone for coming on. So I am Evadyne, and Eric, did you give your YouTube? I'm sorry.
No, and thanks for helping me promote myself.
And your book. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I wrote a book about the experience in the Juvenile Justice Center and the work that was done in there. And the book is called On the Unit. You can look on it on Amazon for that one, and it's basically the story of promoting mindfulness, for lack of better words, or meditative exercise or somatic breathing in the Juvenile Justice Center in Philadelphia to young people, and how they responded to meditation and breathing exercises at the beginning and the end of classes. and just the whole kind of, tragedy and triumph of that place and what it was like, bringing that perspective in there. So I think it offers, some interesting perspective. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's about what we're doing here on the ground. And yeah, the YouTube channel where you can hear my podcast weekly is Temple of Intertechnology. You could just look under Intertechnology 7129, which I never knew that there was a number at the end there, but it is. And the number is 7129 Intertechnology. And if you subscribe and get in there, you're going to hear some really, I'll be honest, and I'm not very good at touting myself, or if that's the word even, but I'm going to share a lot of very, I would say, sacred and useful knowledge, and knowledge that is from my travels, in South America and Africa and Europe, and mainly my travels inward, in the journey of life, and the sweat lodge, and the times that you have to go inward and find something in yourself. So that'll all be kind of mixed in, and would love to have you on board there. So thanks, Evadyne, again. Thank you to my brother Janal, who is always my ace, always there when I need him, and likewise Francisca and everyone else on the line. Appreciate
Yeah.
you all.
Thank you, Janelle. I'm going to ask you for closing comments as well, but I just want to confirm it's Intertechnology 7149 on YouTube. So youtube.com/@ Intertechnology 7149. Yes, I thank you very much for that. Janelle, would you like to give some closing comments? And I love what you said in your opening statement, and I agree with it, that we all look forward to this being a successful process and a major piece to the solution puzzle. I consider myself to be a solutionist. I might not be always right for everybody's pocket, but I consider myself to be a solutionist. And so the idea of doing this, again, stemmed from when Dr. Eric, I like calling him Dr. Eric, had come to Maryland, and the way I watched him interact with the young people, I, like Francesca, seniors and children are my passion. Maybe because I was once one and hopefully will be one continually for a long time. But I always felt that children are not respected and recognized for their knowledge. And their knowledge comes from those who have left before them. It's not about them telling you what to do. It's about us listening to what they're saying, because they may not always know how to say it, but what they say, not the messenger, but the message. Don't take it personally, parents, when children are expressing themselves, because we really want them to express themselves so that we can hear and understand what's going on inside of them. They may not even know they're flaring, throwing their head back, sucking their teeth, rolling their eyes, bucking up, as males may. It's hormonal changes that are going on in their inner bodies. They don't realize. They say, what did I do? Right? Because they don't see themselves externally. And here's a perfect example of that, because as adults, we don't see ourselves externally. Unless we're looking in the mirror when we're speaking to people, we don't necessarily see the expressions that we're giving and how those expressions do not relate to the words we are speaking. So it's the same with the young people. They're saying it in a certain type of way, but that's hormonal. It really is. It's the growth process that's going on inside of them. And our young people are going through their change of life cycles much younger now than we did. And I really don't know how to explain it with young men, because I hear that you literally like have this growth spurt. And I wonder if your bones hurt. They said there's like a growth spurt between 15 and 16, like you just shoot up over a summer, you might just shoot up. And I wonder if there's like bone pain to that, if like you feel that. I'm sorry, there was a show on TV called Growing Pains, right? again, let's just identify what all of this stuff means. But I just want to ask everyone to be patient in the process. Be patient. We have time. Don't think we don't. We have time. There's no hurry. There's no rush. If we're patient, they will be patient. But we all want to be here together, and we all want to be the best we can be. Jonelle, you can give us closing comments, and then I'll just give my contact information. And we definitely want, if you leave before that, please come back again next Thursday. Please bring 3 people. We want to bring resources for our young people. We're going to give them out verbally. If you know of job training programs, and yes, Eric, I agree. Their foundation is very important, because they can go into a job and lose the job because their inner self is not intact. It's a little bit of everything, though. If a young person who's job ready, or job ready in terms of their age, but don't have a job, they're struggling financially. Their other friends may be flowing in funds legally, and they don't have any. That's a spiritual struggle and a material, physical struggle. So we want to kind of like incorporate everything together. Like, I love your passion, because when you work in your passion and when you know your passion, you're very successful. People cannot take away your joy. They cannot take away your wealth when you know your passion and you're working in it. So that's why I always lean into purpose and passion, those 2 things, purpose and passion. But I'm sorry, Janelle. I know I keep saying it, but I haven't let you in the door. Knock, knock. Come on in, Janelle.
It's no problem. When you're passionate about things, it flows, and I can tell you're passionate about it, which is a beautiful thing. Like I said, it's coming together that's important for me, and talking about these things, and people that are knowledgeable about these things, and coming from different perspectives and putting those together. From my perspective, it's a understanding of cycles. I think we've lost our understanding of the cycles that we go through, even, you know, ancestrally. We, we forget that we're connected, and that you learn from every aspect of the cycle. And, you know, capoeira, for me, capoeira has taught me, you know, to come back to understanding the cycles. It teaches you to learn from the children, and it teaches you that the children are more connected to the ancestors at certain points, and it teaches you that sometimes you have to humble yourself and listen to them, even though you're trying to put them in straight lines and they want to do circles. Where people are circles and cycles. So, you know, it's important for me to really use what I call a technology, capoeira and Angola, a technology that I'm studying, and to share that with the youth, that's helpful. And I don't expect them to all to want to do capoeira all the time like I do, but if they get the principles of it, that's the important thing, because it'll make them better at whatever else they do. So, you know, getting back to cycles, being in nature, getting back, all of the things that we're offering is is going inside and understanding yourself, and understanding the cycles that you're going through. Also go out into the world, and those cycles are happening too. So being able to understand yourself helps you be a better person, to help the world be a better person, and keep going. And I think that's what's going on here as well. And I'm excited. I'm happy that, you know, people are coming together and discussing things that me and Eric and I have been talking about for a long time, and things are coming to fruition in that way. And I just appreciate the space, and I hope to see you guys next week.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So if a young person was on, and if they were listening today, the question is, as a young person, what is it that you need from us as adults to be successful in your future? And your future doesn't have to be 25 years from now. Your future could be next week. Your future could be in a month when you go back to school. What do you need from us, the adults, in your life or around, that could help you succeed in your future? Because you are our future. So you truly matter to us. You absolutely matter. Not because we need you, but because we care. You matter. If there are any young people on in Francesca, I'll give you an opportunity if you want to have a closing statement as well. And I just want to share, please go to my website, NetworkingForSuccess.info /promo. I strongly promote my books because they are life-saving and life-changing. My co-author is the creator. You can get the ebooks, both of them, for $5 together as a set. Suicide is a Serious Killer. Let's End It Today. And Mind is to Mental as Teeth Are to Dental. And We All Have a Mind. Those are the two books. There's a lot of great things on there. There's fundraising component to everything that I do. You may reach out to me directly at 347-457-2769 or team follow me at yahoo.com, and please put in the subject youth program. That will let me know that you came from us here today. Francesca, do you have any closing remarks? And I really appreciate you, everybody, really coming on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to give a little suggestion. Is there a way you can create like a flyer? Because my social media platform is very strong and I do have youth. I do have moms there that like to educate, their children. So if there's a way, like something that could be created, like a little flyer, and I can post it so youth can come on, because I'll definitely be sharing this information. It's an amazing platform that they can utilize, from everybody that's up here. They have a lot to put, a lot of information to put on the table. And it's something that the youth should come on and actually not only hear, but you utilize. You said something about life insurance is very important. Saving, like with my grandson, let me just put a little testimony. When he was small, I started telling my daughter that any money that he got for his birthday to open a little bank account, of course, she never paid me no mind. I started doing it and it grows, and it can benefit him. Now she's starting to give him chores to do, and he gets like little money and he sticks it away like in a little, little pocket stuff, and it's mounting. So when you start saying when you're small for your future, like if it is, college or whatever you wanna, the trade that you wanna proceed is very important. So she brings a lot to the table with finance. It's very important. Um, and I'm very, very, I'm very passionate educating the youth, because when you educate them from small, they can have their own car, their own profession, their own house, and it's very important so they don't struggle. So what you're doing on tonight, all you guys are doing an amazing job. They should utilize this platform and come on and listen, because if I had this back in the days, who knows how many houses I would have had, or how many cars, how many business. And I had to start at a more an adult age, but I'm fortunate and I can pass it along to when I educate and do workshops, I do whatever Bonnet does. I speak to them. What do you want to do in life? What do you want to proceed? And I'm very thankful about my job. I'm a nurse. I love my seniors. They educate me on past stuff that happened, how they started from little, saving money, and you can learn from the seniors. Listen, there's stories that they tell you, oh my God, and they also give you advice. I've brought my grandson to my job several times, and he's a very brainstorm up here. He's learned a lot from the elderlies, and we can learn even from veterans. Even from veterans, we can learn a lot. So I say on to any youth that's on here, please, like Ivana, they said, and Eric, bring 3 youth with you on this platform. It's very educational and is a tool that you can take, that's not something that you're wasting your time. You just are benefiting in the long run to pass it on to somebody else. So thank you on tonight for letting me share my organization and my podcast. Eric, it was very nice to meet you. Evadyne, you know what I feel about you. And so I'm going to call him Jay. It was also nice to meet him too. And, I can hop on the Zoom quite often. And like I said, I'll pass the word. I'm always around youth too. So, but if there was a little flyer or something, I can put it up on Facebook. I'm quite sure more youth will come on.
Thank you. I will work on that. We will work on that. Let me say that. We will work on that. Thank you so much, Francesca. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. And I know we have one person on that has young people around them. You can just let me know if they're interested in speaking. You can star 6 real quick. And if they aren't, then hopefully the next time they will be. Or actually, we can get them to speak. So if you come across young people who want to tell us what they need, want to tell us what's on their mind, I have a 24-hour line, 347-649-7741. 347-649-7741. They can call that line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave a message. Parents could leave messages. If there's anything that if you're listening, you want us to know and hear. If you want it to be anonymous, that's your decision. But how can we help you? What do you need? And even the parents, what do you need to allow us to make success for your home better? You, your children, your grandchildren, what do you need? How can we help? We know what's needed generally, but specifically, you, young person, you, teenager, you, college graduate, you, parent, you, grandparent, what do you need that we could help you with? And then we're asking you to also bring your resources so that when they say this is what they need, we can match them with you. I'd like to thank you all for coming on. Eric, any final, or are we good?
I'm good. I'm golden. Thanks, Evadyne.
You're absolutely welcome. Janelle, Francesca, everybody who's listening, thank you for your time. See you next week, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. Be well.
Good night.